"You've got to be kidding me." The words came out like a reflex, sharp and dismissive. Specialist Marcus Webb, 23 years old, fresh off his second deployment and wearing his uniform like a badge of superiority, slammed his truck door and stared at the parking spot he'd just claimed. The blue handicap symbol painted on the asphalt might as well have been invisible. He had 15 minutes before he needed to report back to base. 15 minutes to grab energy drinks and protein bars from the commissary. He wasn't about to waste time circling the lot like some civilian. But someone was watching. An old man, maybe late 70s, stood beside a weathered pickup truck 3 spaces down. He wore a faded denim jacket despite the Georgia heat, jeans that had seen better decades, and work boots that had molded to his feet over years of use. His face was creased with age, his beard more salt than pepper, but his eyes were sharp, still scanning, still assessing. The old man took a slow step forward, his gait slightly uneven, one leg dragging just a fraction behind the other. Not quite a limp, but the unmistakable mark of someone whose body had taken damage it never fully recovered from. "Son," the old man said, his voice low and gravelly, "that's a handicapped spot." Marcus didn't even turn around. He was scrolling through his phone, one hand on his truck bed, the other swiping through messages from his buddies still deployed. "Yeah, I can read." "Then maybe you should move your vehicle." Now Marcus looked up, slowly, deliberately. He sized up the old man with a single sweep of his eyes, thin frame, age spots on his hands, that slight drag in his step. No threat, no authority. Just another old-timer who thought the world owed him something. "You a parking cop, Grandpa?" Marcus said, his tone dripping with mockery. "You got a badge I should know about?" The old man didn't flinch. His expression remained neutral, but something flickered in those eyes. Not anger, something older, something patient. "No badge," the old man replied. "Just common sense. That spot's for people who need it." Marcus laughed, a short, bark-like sound that echoed across the parking lot. A few other shoppers glanced over, but quickly looked away. Nobody wanted to get involved. "Look, old man, I'm active duty. I've been humping through the mountains of Afghanistan while you've been sitting in your recliner watching Fox News. I think I've earned the right to park wherever the hell I want." The statement hung in the air like a challenge. The old man stood silent for a moment, his weathered hands resting at his sides. Then, almost imperceptibly, he shook his head, not in anger, but in something closer to disappointment. "You should move your truck, son." And that's when Marcus snapped. "I'm not your son." He stepped forward, closing the distance in 2 strides. "And I'm not taking orders from some washed-up old man who probably never served a day in his life." He reached out, not violently, not with a closed fist, but with an open palm against the old man's shoulder, and shoved. Not hard, just enough to make a point, just enough to say, "Get out of my face." But it was enough. The old man's uneven stance betrayed him. His bad leg buckled, and he stumbled backward, arms flailing for balance that wouldn't come. The paper grocery bag he'd been holding, when had he been holding that, tumbled from his grip. Apples rolled across the asphalt. A loaf of bread landed in a shallow puddle. The old man hit the ground. Hard. His back struck the pavement with a dull, sickening thud. His head snapped back, but didn't hit his arm, shot out instinctively, catching himself at the last second. He lay there for a moment, chest heaving, staring up at the sky. Marcus froze. For just a second, reality cut through the adrenaline. He saw what he'd done, saw an old man on the ground, saw groceries scattered like evidence. But pride is a hell of a drug. "Should have moved when I told you," Marcus muttered, turning back toward the store. And that's when the engine sound cut through the lot. A black Ford F-250 government plates rolled into the parking lot with the slow, deliberate presence of authority. The driver's side door opened before the truck even came to a complete stop. Major David Kessler stepped out. Kessler was 42, career Army, with a kind of face that had seen too much to be impressed by posturing. His uniform was immaculate, his boots polished to a mirror shine, and the oak leaves on his collar caught the afternoon sun like small warnings. He'd been Marcus Webb's battalion commander for 6 months, long enough to know the kid had potential, long enough to know he also had an ego problem. And right now, Kessler was staring at that problem lying on the pavement. Webb. The single word hit like a rifle shot. Marcus turned, and the color drained from his face. "Sir, Shut your mouth and help that man up. Now." Marcus moved on instinct, jogging over to where the old man was slowly pushing himself into a sitting position. He reached down, offering a hand, but the old man didn't take it. Instead, he braced himself against the side of a parked car and stood on his own, brushing dust off his jacket with slow, deliberate motions. Kessler approached, his boots crunching on scattered apples. He stopped a few feet away, his expression unreadable. "Sir, are you injured?" Kessler's voice was professional, controlled, but there was an edge beneath it. "I'm fine," the old man said quietly. He bent down slowly, stiffly, and began picking up his groceries. Kessler crouched beside him, helping gather the apples. "Let me get those for you, sir. I can manage. I insist." They worked in silence for a moment, the tension thick enough to choke on. Marcus stood a few feet away, hands clenched at his sides, every instinct screaming at him to leave, but knowing he couldn't. As Kessler reached for the last apple, his eyes caught on something. The old man's jacket sleeve had ridden up. Exposed on his forearm, faded but unmistakable, was a tattoo. Not the kind you get in a parlor on a drunken weekend, the kind you earn. A Navy SEAL trident. Beneath it, in script almost too faded to read, 1971, Vietnam. And below that, 3 small tally marks. 3 confirmed kills, 3 teams. Kessler didn't know, but he knew enough. His blood ran cold. Kessler's hand froze mid-reach. He stared at the tattoo, then slowly, deliberately, looked up at the old man's face. "Sir, what's your name?" The old man met his gaze. For the first time, there was something in his eyes. Not pride, not anger, just taut acknowledgement. "Thomas Brennan." Kessler's heart stopped. Thomas "Ghost" Brennan. The name was legend, whispered in SEAL training, mentioned in classified after-action reports that only field-grade officers ever saw. A man who'd conducted over 50 combat extractions in hostile territory. A man who'd earned the Navy Cross and refused to attend the ceremony. A man who, according to records, had been medically retired in 1973 after taking shrapnel to the hip during a riverboat ambush in the Mekong Delta. The same hip that had just failed him when Marcus Webb shoved him to the ground. Kessler stood slowly, the grocery bag forgotten in his hand. He turned to Marcus, and when he spoke, his voice was colder than Marcus had ever heard it. "Specialist Webb, stand at attention." Marcus snapped upright, hands at his sides, eyes forward, but he could feel it now, the weight of what he'd done crashing down on him like artillery fire. Kessler stepped between them, his back to Brennan, his eyes locked on Marcus. "Do you know who this man is?" "No, sir." "This man," Kessler said, his voice barely above a whisper but somehow louder than a shout, "is Thomas Brennan, call sign, Ghost, Navy SEAL, MACV-SOG. He has more confirmed combat rescues than you have days in service. He was extracting POWs from North Vietnamese prison camps while you were in diapers." Marcus's throat tightened. His mouth went dry. "And you just shoved him to the ground over a parking spot." Silence. "Sir, I didn't." "You didn't what?" Kessler's voice rose now, sharp and unforgiving. "You didn't know? You didn't care? You didn't think?" Marcus had no answer. Kessler turned back to Brennan, his expression softening instantly. "Sir, I apologize on behalf of the United States Army. This is unacceptable." Brennan waved a hand dismissively. "Kids just got some growing up to do." "With respect, sir, it's more than that." Kessler glanced at the handicapped spot, then back at Marcus. He parked in a disabled spot. He assaulted a veteran. And he did it while wearing the uniform. Brennan sighed, finally accepting the grocery bag Kessler handed him. I'm not looking to ruin anybody's career, Major. You're not, sir. He is. Kessler pulled out his phone and made a call. It lasted less than 30 seconds. When he hung up, he looked at Marcus with the expression of a man delivering a death sentence. You're confined to base, pending a full investigation. You'll surrender your leave, your off-duty privileges, and your vehicle keys. You'll report to the Provost Marshal at 0600 tomorrow. And if I ever see you treat another veteran with anything less than the respect they've earned, I will personally ensure you spend the rest of your enlistment cleaning latrines in Alaska. Marcus's world collapsed. Sir, please. Dismissed. Marcus turned and walked toward his truck, each step heavier than the last. He climbed in, started the engine, and drove away, leaving the handicapped spot empty behind him. Kessler watched him go, then turned back to Brennan. Can I give you a ride home, sir? Brennan shook his head. I'm parked right there. He nodded toward his old pickup. At least let me help you load your groceries. I'm not helpless, Major. I know, sir. Kessler paused. But I'd be honored. Brennan studied him for a moment, then nodded. Together, they walked to the truck in silence. As Kessler placed the bag in the passenger seat, he noticed something else in the cab. A folded flag in a shadow box. Below it, a Navy cross in a velvet case. You never went to the ceremony, did you? Brennan closed the truck door gently. Didn't feel right. Too many didn't come home. Kessler didn't respond. There was nothing to say that wouldn't sound empty. Brennan climbed into the driver's seat, started the engine, a diesel rumble that spoke of decades, and rolled down the window. Major? Yes, sir? That kid. He's got fire. Don't let this break him. Just temper it. Kessler nodded. I will, sir. Brennan gave a small two-finger salute and drove off, leaving Kessler standing alone in the parking lot. 3 weeks later, Marcus Webb stood outside Thomas Brennan's house, a small ranch-style home on the outskirts of town. In his hands, he held a handwritten letter, 5 pages, front and back, detailing every mistake, every moment of arrogance, every second of that day he wished he could take back. He knocked. The door opened. Brennan stood there, reading glasses perched on his nose, a book in one hand. Sir, Marcus's voice cracked. I came to apologize. Properly. Brennan looked him over, then stepped aside. Come in. They sat at a small kitchen table. Marcus handed him the letter. Brennan read it in silence, occasionally nodding, occasionally frowning. When he finished, he set it down gently. You learn anything, son? Yes, sir. Marcus met his eyes. That respect isn't something you demand. It's something you earn, and that the uniform doesn't make you better than anyone. It makes you responsible to everyone. Brennan leaned back in his chair. You get that from a manual? No, sir. From failing. For the first time, Brennan smiled. Good. That means it'll stick. He stood, opened a drawer, and pulled out a small coin, a Navy SEAL Challenge coin, worn smooth from years of handling. He placed it on the table in front of Marcus. I don't give these out anymore, but you came here. That takes more guts than most have. Don't waste it. Marcus picked up the coin, his hands trembling. I won't, sir. As he left, Marcus paused at the door. Sir, thank you. Brennan just nodded. Stay sharp, kid. The story spread quietly through the base, not as gossip, but as a lesson. The specialist who forgot what the uniform really meant, the old man who could have destroyed him but chose not to, the commander who held the line, and somewhere in a small house on the edge of town, an old SEAL sat in his recliner, book in hand, a faint smile on his weathered face. Some lessons are learned in training. Others are learned in parking lots. If this story reminded you that respect is earned, not given, hit subscribe, because the quiet heroes among us deserve to be remembered.